Like as promised, it's time for the press review. First look at the front pages. A variety of stories make it to the front pages this morning. Let's see what our sister publication this day has on the front. In Financial Times interview, Cardoso says investors getting comfortable with Nigeria's FX market. Declares CBN returning to orthodox policy, doing everything to tame rising inflation. Hints at further MPRO hike. Fitch Ratings raises concerns over Apex Bank on a verified $2.2 billion FX backlog by Apex Bank. Naira weakens to 1,478 to the dollar on official window, while it is $1,485 well on the parallel markets, 1478 and 1485. Other stories on the front page of this day this morning. Electricity tariff. Labour pickets TCN, Discos, NERC offices, grounds operations. That makes it above the masthead. The writer to that story urges federal government to cancel power sector privatization. Government says Zungeru 700 megawatt power plant is ready. Melinda resigns from Gates Foundation, gets $12.5 billion to set up own NGO. And that's the front of this day.
Let's look at the Punch that has the electricity tariff story. FG convenes meeting as Labour threatens indefinite protest. FG to address Labour's complaints. Protesters storm NERC, block Disco's offices in states. EFCC indicts Sirika brother in new 19 billion naira fraud. And on the top mast, Atiku Obi initiate alliance talks ahead 2027 polls. Naira slides. CBN to intervene slides to 1,478 to the dollar.
The leadership has photographs from the picketing of the Nigeria Labour Congress yesterday, but the leading story is that of 2027. Atiku, Obi, Saraki, Lamido begin alliance talks. Obi must get approval of party leadership, says Akpakpa. It's all about state of the nation, Tanko Yunusa, and it's just a mere meeting. How mere is that meeting? Other stories there. Full barrel to probe past administrations in Rivers. UN cries out as 360,000 flee Rafah amid Israeli offensive.
Sports Extra. Don't owe him wages. Inside Fenidi's 5 assistants, one of them, of course, is Mokachi. Stakeholders, fans won NFF after Fenidi's unveiling as Eagles coach. Chelsea ready to offload Sterling. PSG to save 200 million euros from Mbappe exit. United make urgent repairs at Old Trafford after the match with Gunners. The roof was leaking terribly. Musa is confident mood after setting season lead, and City Sports to pay 70 million euros for Eze of Crystal Palace. Today, Tottenham versus Man City. Citizens aim to climb over Arsenal. We'll see how that pans out.
And in South Africa, the Business Day front page, 2 stories stand out there. Proposed UK tax changes will hit expatriates from South Africa. And Anglo-American has rebuffed a second higher offer from Australian-based mining giant BHP.
The Daily Express, it says biggest ever slimming jab trial shows it lowers risk of heart attack and stroke. Game-changing new stating, that's the name, cuts weight and saves lives. A game-changing weight loss jab hailed as a new stating could revolutionize health care after it was found to also prevent heart attacks and strokes.
The Citizen South Africa, Eskom not out of woods yet.
All right, the newspaper, British nature in crisis and every political party failing to save wildlife.
The Times also has that story, but this is an outstanding one. Millions of Britons could be prescribed a weight loss injection to cut their risk of heart attacks and strokes by a 1/5.
Daily Mirror, Man United to tell Wags, find your own way to Wembley Official trip for families to see the FA Cup final facing the Axe, that is Man City and its noisy neighbors, or whatever way you want to look at it, Man United. Harry and Meg's charity frozen.
Let's bring in journalist, social commentator, and Arise News analyst, Dr. Constance Ikoko. Great to see you.
Great to see you, Adesua. Good morning. And Ndi, great to see you too. We're twinning today, black.
Yes, we are. Actually, Indy also got the memo. That's black.
I didn't see that.
Great. Yes, but it's all smiles on set here. But in River State, I don't think they're smiling. This day has the story as well. It's a recurrent story on most of the front pages. Fubara resorts to probe Wike. And I have a question, Dr. Okoko. Does the governor's threat to probe his predecessor imply that their deteriorating relationship is the sole catalyst for this investigation? In other words, if they did not have the deteriorating relationship, we would not be hearing about a probe.
Good question, Adesua. Probably not. You see, when you look at Governor Fubara, initially he was patient. He had the demeanor of someone that, you know, was sometimes even aloof and nice and all of that. But what we are seeing is that the situation is forcing him, or has forced him, to change significantly in tone and in practice, you know, what he wants to do. And I don't know how this goes down in view of the fact that he was the accountant general of that government that he's trying to probe. So whatever mistakes or wrongdoing that occurred in that administration, he's probably part of it and has to take some indictment as well. However, you know, he has, or he does seem to have a lot of support from Rivers people. Some of them think that Minister Wike is overreaching himself. He needs to back down and allow this man to breathe and to do his work. And so that's what's going on. I think that we are going to see more fireworks. We need to watch that space. The night is really going to be long, both for Fubara and Minister Wike.
Let's look at the Punch, the electricity tariff issue. FG convenes meeting as Labour threatens indefinite protest, says FG to address Labour complaints. Protesters storm NERC offices, block disco's offices in the states.
Well, they say that uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. For this government, it's been rolling from one crisis to the other. And I think this is a dress rehearsal to what is yet to come. It might just get worse in the country. Those are the indications. And Labour is saying here that there has to be a total reversal of that price increase in the electricity tariff. And the Minister of Power is insisting that that will be catastrophic for the country. So we'll watch and see who backs down. But the point is that many Nigerians are totally distressed. And so people are looking at how do you manage. There are so many things coming at you at the same time. How do you manage all of this? There's also the story that talks about people reverting to solar, or you know, deciding to choose solar power to see if it's cheaper for them. Someone that used to buy 12,000 naira credit for a month is now having to spend 40,000 naira for electricity. That's a lot, you know, of increase in a very short time. But also the solar panel stories. I'm hearing that some landlords are insisting that their tenants cannot mount solar panels on their roof because they are afraid of, you know, affecting the structural integrity of the roofs or the building. So there's crisis everywhere, and it's a tough time for Nigerians.
And then we do hope that those tough times don't last long. However, you say uneasy lies the head that wears the crown, but we keep seeing people who want the position of leadership, yet, you know, we don't see much turning around. Let's look at Leadership newspaper because they have a story about 2027 already. So the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 elections, Peter Obi, made some visits, I believe yesterday, and he visited Atiku, he visited Saraki, and a couple of people. But leadership seems to think that this is alliance talks ahead of 2027. There are reports that they are not, they're just mere visits. What do you make of it?
Well, we have been hearing about merger and alliance talks for some time now. I think some Nigerians are expecting a miracle in the country because of the leadership wrath and the political crisis that we face. But there won't be a miracle. It will be the people that have to get up and say enough is enough and do something about it. So I think people are also looking at the opposition party. For instance, the PDP is probably the party with the biggest spread in Nigeria, very well established. Labour is coming up. So the thinking is that these opposition parties need to do something drastic. If not, we will become a one-party state, which will be, terrible for a country such as Nigeria. You do not want a government that has absolutely no opposition. How this alliance talks will pan out, we do not know yet. Obi's handlers say that it's not alliance, it's not merger. He's just committed to the progress of the nation. But we can deduce from all that is going on that people have to come together, the splinter groups, they have to bury their egos, they have to bury their ambitions and do something once for the interest of Nigeria. Something really needs to be done.
Well, there's a story on Vanguard, the 10 billion naira airport contract fraud. EFCC arraigned Sirika, Brother, and company today. This has been ongoing for quite a while. And Tinubu directs mandatory procurement of CNG-powered vehicles by MDAs. They're talking about leading by example.
Yes, I mean, the Sirika story was going to come. We remember, the Air Nigeria story, with Ethiopian Airlines and how they had this big celebration at the airport, and we're thinking that there was going to be an Air Nigeria. There was so much money spent on that, and we do not have Air Nigeria. So he does have a case to answer in court. He has been granted bail, he and his daughter, and so the court process will continue. And I think Nigerians are looking to see that, the processes go through, and that whoever is found wanting at the end of the day has to pay for it. But there is another important story from Business Day. I don't know if you have it there. It's talking about airlines and why it's so expensive. The days of 15,000 naira from Abuja to Lagos are gone.
Very gone.
From last year, we began to see over 100,000 naira for one-way ticket, which is ridiculous. But the airlines are telling us that it's because of charges and levies and taxes. Last week we were talking about taxes and levies of cybersecurity.
Yes.
And so I have some information here. So that let me read it. It's very important. So they're talking about 13.5% taxes, which is a problem. There's 5% ticket sales charge, 7.5% VAT, 1% development tax, there's corporate tax, there's pensions, and then there are also other fees on flight clearance, navigation, parking or landing, charges on licensing, training, aircraft certifications, insurance, then fuel, maintenance, Adesua. And
I think the only thing I didn't hear is the sky tax, the fact that they fly.
Look, there's so much levies, multiple taxation. So sometimes people think that the government gives little or no thought to how this hampers or even kills businesses. Yes, you want to generate revenue. At the same time, you have to be careful that you're not killing the businesses that you already have in the country, because these businesses employ people, and you need people to be employed. So it's a problem. These are things that the government probably, or most probably, needs to look into. Indeed,
the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms Committee, Bayodele, did say, it's just horrendous, the number of taxes we have, and they are looking to even cut down about 95% of those taxes in the informal sector alone, and then make sure that the work they do is driven by data. So we keep our fingers crossed and only hope for the best.
You also hear that, some economists have said that you cannot tax your way to growth.
Indeed.
You cannot.
Indeed. But let's look at one country that perhaps you didn't know. If you look at the newspaper this morning, it's reporting that Britain is now, listen to this, one of the most nature-depleted countries in the world. Can you believe that?
I can. I can. I mean, most of these countries that we say are developed or advanced, there is a cost to so-called development and advancement, because you have concrete everywhere. You have to cut down trees and forests and everything to make way for the kind of development that you have. So it talks about 19% of species in the UK have vanished since the 1970s, and it says environmental groups are warning that there will be a total extinction and collapse of wildlife. Of course, there is loss of biodiversity as well. I think this story is important because they are saying that in the next election, this should be a topic for politicians
But is it
to
really?
handle.
Is it really a topic?
It
I mean,
should
I hear
be.
the economy, I hear taxes, I hear Rishi Sunak talking about, you know, sending back immigrants to Rwanda. I don't hear him talk much about the nature.
So they are saying that this should be a topic. And I think one of the reasons we are also discussing this is that this is an example for developing countries like Nigeria to take. You don't want to make the mistakes that these Western countries have made. You go to the rural areas, people are building houses, they cut down all the trees, and there's concrete everywhere. You do need nature. You didn't need to preserve the environment. It is for your own good. You need it for energy, for wildlife, for medicinal purposes, a lot of other purposes. So this is something that needs to be taken into consideration in our country as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Constance there. Well, that's the press preview. For more, follow us on X at the Rise TV.